evangelist, which is a new term I've seen, for ODAIA, which is a machine learning AI customer analysis company for the pharmaceuticals, but she'll give you a better detail.
Awesome,
anyway,
thanks, Ben.
Thank you very much for being here. And
thank you. I'm sad I'm missing Kumar this morning, and just like, he's a busy man. He's a busy man. So good morning. How's it going? Good. Okay, you guys could do this. It's all good. Is it too loud or too weird? Yeah, that's okay. I feel like I'm talking to my students. I forgot to give them their assignment this week. They're all complaining. It's amazing. This is my life right now, is working full time and then still deciding to teach. Don't do it. Don't ever do that. Just go straight to work. Oh, let's try. No. Let's see if it. Well, I'll start without the slides. So I'm Helen Kontozopolous, the co-founder of ODAIA. In 2018, I was teaching full-time, an adjunct professor here at the University of Toronto at the Department of Computer Science right behind us. And I was also teaching at the Department of Computer and Mathematical Sciences up at Scarborough campus. So I was teaching product development, design, and entrepreneurship. So getting my students to think before they build, that's pretty much the course. It's trying to understand what you should build, and there's a problem and a reason why we build. And what's great is a lot of the students are always wanting to create a startup. That's what they wanted, is pretty much, I want to be a startup founder. And of course, around the last 10 years, a lot of the students were like, everyone else is doing it, why can't I? So there was this whole movement toward entrepreneurship here on campus. In 2014, when I started teaching here, thanks. When I started teaching here at U of D, it was just the first startings where Merritt Gertler had a big mission to have entrepreneurship here on campus, like to give funding. The Ontario government was giving funding for incubators and accelerators on campus. And one of them was, and you'll know them, Hatchery, CDL, anybody else know any other ones? The Hub at Scarborough. Fields had entrepreneurship, but much later. So there was all this big, huge initiative and push in the last 10 years for the University of Toronto to encourage students to create startups. And I was brought in, I was working at OCAD, I was working with Steve Mann, he's also here a professor, and I was working on some interesting projects around mobile development. I'm a developer, so I always was thinking, how do we create from idea to production? So the last 10 years has been really interesting to see what's been happening on campus and to see founders come through. Well, not only the incubator I co-founded, but also the incubators and accelerators are flourishing on campus. And in 2017, my other co-founder, my academic co-founder, Pericles Andritsos, out of computer science and the iSchool, said, I've got some amazing work I'm working on, some research, with one of my students around customer journey mapping and using process mining. And he goes, what I'm trying to think of, like what I'm trying to do, and what I've been doing in my research is looking at underlying processes that we build out into the world, like how we create in the world. And I want to be able to take the huge amount of data that we produce in those processes. So processes would be what we do online, our websites, patient journeys, citizen journeys. We were using dummy data from Chicago, so we were looking at citizen journeys. And there's all these underlying things that are happening in the world. And my first degree is in anthropology, so I was like, wait a minute, did you just pretty much use ML to get rid of my job? That whole like, it's evil. And I'm like, you just pretty much AI'd my life out of here. That's awesome, this is fantastic. I'm excited. And why I was excited is because I'm someone who thinks about qualitative and quantitative data. I always think about people and their journeys. So when he came to me in 2017, I thought he wanted to join my lab the Department of Computer Science Innovation Lab, to tech transfer his work out of the university. So that was what I helped with. To then start a pilot with an industry partner. That's what I also helped with. And also to start with the first prototype. And that's also where I helped. So as a director, I was also someone who helped all these students and researchers produce that first step to get it out of the university. And he was like, no, I want you to join my team. I need your help. And I go, no, that's what I do. I get paid by the university to do that. He's like, no, I want you to be a founder with me. And in 2017, that was Christmas 2017, I was like, am I ready to leave the university? This is crazy. This is not, really? I want to do this? And I think I was just ready. I was teaching all the time. I'm running tons of programming. I was running programming with Kumar, who's here at the Fields. We were working on datathons, quantathons. We were working on so much programming. And I thought, I think I am ready to be a startup founder. I love the research. I can see a product being built. The only thing that was missing was my business founder, because there was two academics, me, and then I realized we needed someone who has done this before. I needed that knowledge base. Like, I needed that kind of experience. And also, why start from scratch when you've already had someone who's done it twice before and has sold their startup? So Philip had sold his last two startups to AT&T and Samsung. And I knew him because he was one of keynote at one of my conferences. And so as a founder, for me, it was like, I could just kind of move up that mountain a bit faster than starting from scratch. Because that's how I always helped all my students and researchers, was like from scratch. So my academic founder did go back to academia. He got tenure. He's very happy being a professor at the university. We tech transferred out of the University of Toronto in 2018. And I think I've told you a little bit about who I am. Worked on that. It's a pretty nice stylized picture they gave us now. So you have to get fancy pictures. This is us out of the University of Toronto in 2018. This is the on-ramp. It's going to be destroyed. That corner, that's at college and university. And at the time when we were starting, it was funny because it was a time when we were thinking about what we were going to do. We didn't know what we were going to create yet. We knew we wanted to look at journeys. We didn't know whose journey we were going to look at. We hadn't finalized which industry we were going to go into. So sometimes people always think you already know what you're going to do right when you exit the university. You're like, oh, this is the industry. This is what I'm creating. This is the area I'm going to go into. We didn't know. So at this point, we only had some research that we had worked on and patents we were developing. We were tech transferring out of the University of Toronto. So we're a U of T startup, and we were literally in the ecosystem. So we were able to get that first funding. When we were looking at just overall, when we were coming out of 2018, you can see all the logos on the bottom of who started helping us. You know, this is the ecosystem you are in. So for anyone who's thinking about entrepreneurship, I always put it out there. I know this is to go get a job, but I always say, you know, if you can create your own, why not? So we had a lot of support from this ecosystem here at U of T. And in 2018, between 2018 and 2019, we had no idea which industry. We tried every different type of industry. So from manufacturing, from hospitals and patient data, we worked on lighting. There was a manufacturer who came with lighting. It was crazy, a journey of a light. It was quite crazy. Journeys of ticket problems from cities. There was just a range of industries we just didn't know we were going to go into. And it was like trying to find, what is it? A hammer, a solution. You know that saying? I'm not good at that saying, just so you know. But we were just pretty much like running around. And most researchers and most time when you're coming out of a university, this is what you're kind of going through, is you have cool research and cool work you've been working on. You know it excites you and you're thinking about it. You're like, where can I apply it? So pretty much a lot of times for the first month, or first 2 years was trying to figure it out. Talking about ecosystems, you have Mars in the corner, and it was through a connection that someone said, Helen, what are you working on? I said, we're looking at predicting journeys of a customer. We're thinking about how people move through a system, and then we're predicting. That's what our research is. That's what we've been working on, is thinking about what might be the next steps. And this is 2018, right? The research has been going on for about 3-4 years now. Why we're different than like a Google research, or like, a Google search of maps of customers. We can really prove that we were finding something different in our research and a uniqueness. And he goes, I know someone who's trying to do that. I know an organization in the pharmaceutical industry. And we were like, pharma? Okay. Like, we're not drug discovery. That's all I said to them. Like, I go, I already work with those teams. We're not that. And he was like, no, they're doing doctor journeys and sales rep journeys. And I was like, I was just clueless. I was like, this is something I had no idea about. And we were kind of at a point where I go, so you want us to predict whose journey? And they said, we want to predict HCP journeys, so doctor journeys. And we're like, what do you mean by predicting what a doctor does? And it's like, what are they prescribing? Which patients are they talking about? What is the patient journey? And I go, we understand patient journey. We worked with hospitals in the past, so we can understand that journey. They go, no, it's how they interact with the therapeutic. And so for me, I was like, okay, we'll talk to them, totally talk to them. And this is the end of 2018. And so within a year, we were like talking to a potential pilot that one had funding, which was exciting because money, I love when money hits my account. That's kind of the part that really excites me. They talked about a journey of the sales rep, the person who has all this understanding about the therapeutic, what is happening in new trials, all of that understanding of what's happening with a new drug release, and then that relationship between them and a doctor. And then finally, when the doctor has these options of which therapy would be the best, their decision to one prescribe to the patient. We got data in 2019. We're working on this relationship. We're looking at this journey, like the journey in the middle. We're working on this data. We're starting to hire in our team. The first hires were engineers that we knew, and product developers. And so we were working on that. It didn't click to me, because some people are going, oh, it must have been so apparent you should have done this. And I go, no, it wasn't. I had no idea we should have done this. I just go, they gave us they gave us data, and then they gave us money. That's the only thing I thought, we're on the right course for a little bit until we find the right customer. That's all I thought to myself. This clicked, the journey clicked to me is, I was a caregiver for my dad until he passed 2 years ago. And we were sitting in the doctor, so I took care of all of his prescriptions, everything he had to go through in his last years. So I'm sitting there with the doctor, and I'm like explaining to my dad, I'm translating, and finally the doctor goes, look, your dad cannot take that drug. And I was like, he's allergic to it, he's really itchy, that explains a lot. And I go, are you kidding me? He was allergic to a drug that we've been on for a year. Like, that's why every night I'm putting creams on his back. And he's like, why am I so itchy? I thought it was his kidneys. Like, this whole relationship that you have on therapy and caregiving is really hard as a caregiver. And if you have children, the same thing, you're caregiving yourself too. So I'm having this really hard time with my dad. And the doctor says, you have to get on a different drug. But I don't know which one. And I'm like, what do you mean? This is internal. I'm not saying this out loud, right? I'm not saying this to my doctor, not to his doctor. And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, you're the doctor. What do we get? What do we do? She's like, I've been looking at, she's a specialist in gout. So she goes, there's a new drug coming out, and I need to look at the clinical trials to make sure it doesn't counteract and doesn't hurt him in other drugs that he's taking. And I was like, okay, that's good. And of course, me, it's like, do you have info? I'll research too, right? Like, I can do this as well. And she said, she goes, I can, but you know what I'm going to do? I'll have to call up the sales rep. And that was the moment when I went, sorry, what did you say? Like, did you say sales rep? You know, she goes, yeah, I've got to call up the sales rep. They'll know all the clinical trials. They can give me all the information. And then I can confirm also, because it's a pretty expensive drug, it's about $1,500 if your dad doesn't have to pay that either. So coming out of like $1,500 is a lot for a drug that he has to take, or his other parts of his body start breaking down. Because if he gets an attack, we'll have problems with his kidneys, and then we'll have to go dialysis. This is pre-COVID. This is only a few months before COVID. So at that moment, sometimes, remember, this is 2 years into the journey of my journey as a founder, when it finally clicked why I should be doing this startup. I realized that this doctor had not enough information. It's not their fault. That's not their job. I would go to the pharmacist, find out more information. But that relationship between the doctor and the sales rep changed in my mind. And so what we finally came up, I'm like, that's what we do. I go, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to say, you're trying to find the right doctor at the right time with the right information, knowing the patient journey to get these drugs to the patient. The doctor is in control here, but the question is, do they have everything they need to make that decision? And you realize they don't. It's 60 seconds they have less than with a sales rep, you know, or with a medical representative. Like, they only have very little time. So what we were trying to solve is that relationship, is trying to say, are you finding the right doctor? Because if you're not, you shouldn't talk to them. Don't knock on their doors, don't waste their time, get the right information to the right time. It became a very big business idea for us because, one, that's what a pharma needs to do. They pay this person lots of money. Also, this person is doing about 5 to 20 hours of planning to talk to which doctors, and it's a static list. And then what we said is, well, from that pilot we did, we took it down to about 15 minutes. I had a nurse, I was at McMaster in their business school about 2 weeks ago, and she goes, she puts up her hand, she goes, are you really doing that? Because I was the nurse at one of the clinics, and you'd have sales reps knocking on the door with Krispy Kremes or pizza, you know? And I go, yeah, that's what we're doing. She goes, oh my God, they were aggressive. Like, but I go, that's their job, because you're not opening doors to talk to anyone. So it's this whole weird relationship happening. But then the problem is we're not getting the information. So there was something broken here that I want to fix right now, and that's what we're fixing. We're finding reps are getting in hold of HCPs. HCPs are more open, saying, yeah, I want to find out what you're giving me, like what therapeutics are coming out. So fine-tuning this relationship is what we've been doing for the last few years. We created 2 products for it. So first is that sales rep. So right now they can, in real time, understand which HCPs they should go talk to, which ones are open to talking to them and ready to talk to them, and also ones who maybe just want to be emailed or sent a newsletter or sent information. So that's been really great, because something that used to take hours a month is down to about 15 minutes with us. Sphere now is what is happening in a region. Are we missing doctors or patients we should be looking at? And so between these two, what's it called, these 2 products we've been working on, we're released into both Canada and the States now. Okay, that's what we do professionally. We've developed an awesome product that we hand out. Like we work, well, 2 products that we've been working on, but this is what we usually do. A lot of hot pot. I don't know, my team loves it. We hang out a lot. We play a lot of ping pong tournaments, and as hard as we work, we also play a lot. I just wanted to show you the culture of what we've developed from that time when we were 4 people, and now we're 100. So it's been kind of keeping a culture. We're all remote, and it's kind of like oh yeah, we do K1 racing too. They're so competitive. They're a little bit crazy. We love working from home, but we also like getting together. So I know that it's talking about the culture at ODAIA. But for us, it's been kind of how do we balance people's needs and wants in a culture. So we are always thinking about how healthy and happy our employees are. So it's pretty much like a lot of things what I do on, like aside from like evangelizing and going out and talking about ODAIA and going and talking to clients. This weekend I'm in Chicago. I think about culture, and I think about building a really good culture that loves working there. Talked about remote work. We're still remote, but we did open office at 150 King Street. It's because we like hang out with each other in Toronto, plus we have a lot of people come in a lot. So we do like that a lot. There were some tips. Do I need to go through that? Or do you want me to go through any tips? I was going to go through questions now. Yeah. Yeah, okay, cool. I'll post it. We'll share them and stuff. I wanted to take questions because I'm just looking at time.